Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the We the Locals podcast. My name is Josie.
I'm Jessica.
And we got Stu pushing the buttons in the back. Hey, Stu.
Hello.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We really appreciate you taking the time to come and hang out with us and hear about all things local. We are on a pre-recorded episode. It is Tuesday, February 3rd. And we are hoping to have this episode dropped to you by February 5th on our Thursday night at 7 o'clock regular time. If you would like to sponsor our show, you can do that through our website. If you are a business or a candidate and you like to get your name out there, you can also do like a monthly sponsorship, or you can just donate to keeping our lights on. We do this as a passion project, really, and we make no money, so which is great. Zero money. In fact, we spend money, our own money. So if you could throw us a few dollars to help us keep this going as we go into the 2026 election cycle, we would greatly appreciate it. And so if you could also take a second to like, share, and subscribe to our episode and channel, that will help us as well. And check us out on all of our socials, which Jessica will give you at the end of the show. So, hey,
here
we are again.
Yeah. It's been 2 weeks already.
Time is flying.
So it's becoming a very interesting, midterm cycle up until this point, because it's like now that we're at the first of the year, it's like you're seeing all the candidate meet and greets and all of the
wire emails are getting longer and longer and longer.
Yep, for sure. So it's interesting how things are kind of playing out, and it's still early yet. Most of the races, qualifying is not till June. We're well into municipals. Those qualifying is open, but as we get into more of, school board and our local elected officials, as far as like county and state and stuff. So it's very interesting how this is playing out this year, because there's so much getting thrown in every direction that it's going to be really hard to kind of keep up with. So hopefully we can give you all a little snidbit, give you 1,000-foot view, and kind of tell you a few of the things that we've noticed that people should be kind of honing in on. But that also does not mean that we can cover everything on this show. It's just way too much. So make sure that you're paying attention to your individual municipality and the county as a whole. And please let us know if there's anything that needs to be brought to our attention that we may not be aware of. So I just kind of want to put that out there, because it's getting cuckoo bananas.
Cuckoo bananas. Cuckoo bananas. Also, I just have to say, fun shout that Dan Bongino's back.
Yes.
The Bongino
Cutesy
report.
time is over.
Cutesy time is over.
Don't get dead. And then what?
And there's some idiots out there.
Yes.
I didn't get to listen to the whole episode because they had a crazy day of yesterday's first. Was it yesterday?
Yesterday was the first one.
Yeah. So I'm a little behind already. He had Trump on. I know. I haven't listened to all of it yet, so I'm excited. And shout out. And also, I hope everyone is staying warm.
Yeah. It's freezing in Florida.
It's freezing. Yeah, down here in Florida. I was teaching a class tonight. I teach an online class for kids from all over the country, and in both of my classes that I teach, I have at least one Florida kid, and so we're like, what is happening? And so I got on. I was like, guys, I have to report to you that I am surviving the Florida winter. And these Chicago and northern kids are like, what are you talking about? I got one kid from Canada who's like, what do you mean? And I was like, no, you don't understand. You don't understand. There's no heat. The heat doesn't come on in our house. Our house is 65 degrees. Yeah. It's 65 degrees in our house. And that's in the living room where it's the warmest. The bedrooms, it's 60 degrees in all of our bedrooms. We're all freezing. So
extra blankets.
Extra blankets. Every extra blanket is being used. My kids have been wearing scarves and hats inside the house. It's quite hilarious. So I hope everyone's surviving. Hope everyone had a good getting rid of all their iguanas in their yards.
Yep.
So
I did not move to Florida to be cold. So that's all I got to say. And so the 2 weeks out of the year that I have to be cold, I complain the entire time, because I do not like to be cold. And I have heat in my car on the seats and heat on my couch in my seats. And it is on all the time.
We don't turn ours on. It smells weird.
Until it gets above, 73, my heat will be on.
All right, what do we got? Where are we starting?
So,
we got a few things we want to cover tonight. So where do you want to start?
Yeah, so let's start with Palm Beach County, because I think that that's a good place to start. So there was a commission meeting today. I only got an opportunity to listen to a little section of it. The DOGE report that was done by the state came out and was delivered to the county on Friday. So they actually put together a little presentation. I definitely encourage people to watch. I have watched through up into public comment regarding this DOGE section. I'm not sure if it continues after the public comment, so be sure to watch it on your own. But I do want to kind of point out a couple things that I found was interesting. So when the DOGE report came out, now this is two separate things. You have the DOGE and then you have FAFO. That's, so there's two different entities that are getting involved. So Angolia came out, a couple months ago, had a special press conference in Palm Beach County and stated that, that there was this massive overspending in Palm Beach County. Now, in our conversation and what we've said on the show is I've mentioned several times, like, I think his numbers are right. And I understand, the aspects of where he's coming from with that information, or should I say his team. And there's been some pushback on the administrator, as far as the county administrator pushing back on, like, where's the numbers, what's the calculations, what's the formula that's getting to all of this information. And so, and then you have the DOGE component, which is kind of like an audit machine that's also through the state. But these are two separate functions. So you have DOGE and you have the FAFO. And so, the county commissioners and the administrator are pushing back a little bit because of the fact it's just not clear and transparent where this information is coming from. And so I think Sherry, that it runs the department, the budget department for the county, they put together a couple quick slides, and I'll actually throw them up on the screen so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. And I've mentioned this a few times. Every time that our county receives a dollar in, regardless of where it comes from, whether it's a state grant, a federal grant, anything of that nature,
a bond,
if it's a dollar, it has to be recorded in the budget. And so when you get a grant for $15 million, guess what? Your budget goes up $15 million. Even though it's not ad valorem taxes, it still is money coming into the county that you then have to account for. So you have to show that money coming in, and you have to show that money going out. And if anybody is familiar with the county and have been watching, commission meetings or had conversations with Virginia Baker, one of her biggest thing was, if we get a grant and there's positions that come with that grant, if that grant goes away, those positions go away. So it's fully funded by the grant that they receive. So she made sure that, like, ad valorem money wasn't going to special pet projects or special grants that the county was coming in. Not that those didn't fit a need, and not that some of those grants that we received were DEI friendly or green initiative friendly.
Right.
Those things did happen, but it wasn't necessarily things that ad valorem taxes were going to. And that's, and a lot of people want to complain about our Republican commission that they don't do enough. Well, it's not, yes, it's tax money, but it's not Palm Beach tax money.
They can't make the decisions all the time they don't make the decisions for all those things. Like, correct. I think they approve grants and things like that, but it's not like, again, they're not saying, oh, we are going to spend this money that our taxpayers here in Palm Beach County are giving us. It's grants coming from. So yes, at the end of the day, it's all still our dollars, whether it's coming from a state funded grant or a federal funded grant, it's all our dollars. But the way that it all works, it's important to know is what's the statement, follow the money.
Right. And previous administrations like the Biden administration created grant programs and then had strings attached to it that then created their initiatives of, the Green New Deal and, which is kind of a hot button one, and DEI type practices. And so, and by implementing some of those programs locally, Palm Beach County did get a benefit from it. They're able to get a service or, provide some type of incentive for residents here or the underprivileged or whatever it is. So you have to look at it outside of your pocket sometimes and be able to kind of look and see how the spider web goes out because it doesn't always land on the taxpayer.
The taxpayer in specifically our county. It always lands on the taxpayer.
Correct.
The question is which taxpayer and which pocket does it pull from?
So is what they estimated in this meeting today was that the increase of budget between 2020 and 2025 ad valorem taxes is only, I don't want to say only, but it's 25% of the growth.
Okay.
Is actually coming from ad valorem taxes. Well, if you look at our homesteaded properties, right? So those can only go up 3%. So where did the 25% come from? New constructions, second homes, commercial property.
Well, and then you have to also keep in mind too the big jump. So they can only go up 3%, but that is at the value of when they were purchased.
Correct.
So you have to think about the amount of people that sold their houses to new buyers, the buyers coming in. So if you've been paying $4,000 a year on your property or in its property, or it's going up very small incrementally as the value has gone sky high, you don't see that. But then when you sell it, and then that new buyer comes in, now they're paying. So that's a huge chunk as well.
So
because that was a lot.
Them paying $4,000, they're paying $10,000.
Right. So that also accounts for a lot of that.
So
is
that's
that
a big,
the sales.
Right. So that's a big influx of cash that then comes into the county.
I want that injected into my budget
through ad valorem taxes, right? And so you kind of, so it's like, yes, you kind of look at it as a business, or like even if you had a home budget, you'd want to make sure that, you're accounting for all of the, incidentals and things that cost money,
right.
And you want to have a handle on them. But you also have to realize that this is a government. There's revenue streams, and there's revenue streams that come in that can't be used for some things that have to be used for another things. When I spoke with Chairman Oberdorf, that's handling the property taxes, is, I was like, why, can we increase the way that our tourism tax dollars come in? Like, why, can we actually start to implement and have legislation passed where some of that money can be put towards infrastructure? And so
what did he say?
He said that is actually something that they're looking into.
I've said this a gazillion times. I tweeted it out again, X'd it out again today. When someone's like, "Oh, well, what are we going to do to pay for police and fire?" Oh, let's just increase, sales taxes. Sales taxes cannot be used for police, fire, and roads.
Yep.
That's just not how it works. Like when tax money is brought in through different ways, it has to be applied to very specific things. So.
Right.
It doesn't mean it can't change.
Right.
It means it has to change in hand with the changing of the property tax system.
And we want that to be done legislatively because we don't want rogue government. So you have to be able to constrict the way some things are brought in and how those funds are then paid, because then otherwise, you'll have pet projects all over the place, and so you want some restrictions, but you can't take away one way of funding and then try to make up something in a way to recover those funds, because they're needed. And also is you want to be invested in your community and your town and your county, so it's like, if you do away with homesteaded property, what's then your value to your community? You know,
What's your what are you? Where's your stake? You're no longer a stakeholder.
Yeah.
I said this again on someone else. I was like, once you give up not having property taxes, if I go in front of my city council or I go in front of the county commission and I say, as a taxpayer, I ask you to look at this, they can be like, you're not a taxpayer to me.
Right.
Why should I listen to you?
Yeah.
It takes away our voice. I think it's a little, how come no one else is asking this question is what I want to know.
Well, I think it comes down to the fact that, Josie, you and I have been doing, we've been doing this together for 5 years now.
Yeah.
And so, 3 years on, 2.5 years on a podcast.
Holy
now.
cow. In July, it'll be 3 years.
Yeah. So it's, so it's like, we've kind of learned this as we went along, and we chose to educate ourselves instead of just bitching and complaining at a podium.
We do that too. But.
We do, but also at the same time, there's some authority behind it because of the fact that we have the education and knowledge of how it kind of works. So it's easier for us to kind of stand back and say, hey, wait a minute, this is something that needs to be changed and looked at. Like, who am I to go into Chairman Toby Overdorf's office and tell him how taxes should be done? But also at the same time, I had a little bit of knowledge that I could be like, you know what, this is an area that just doesn't make sense that we can't use this towards infrastructure. So it's like, if we're trying to fund things, if we're, everybody's biggest complaint is infrastructure not keeping up with growth. And, on a side note, Delray City Forum, for their candidates, she mentioned, I can't even think of the word now.
Where's your beep button, Stu?
Crap! I just swore.
Just give me
I know.
Because you never do that.
I know. And so, but it was like, she said something about, what was it when they had to build the roads and infrastructure before they could build?
Oh, back in the day when the developers had to do that. So back in the early 2000s, I don't remember.
So there's a word for it. That it's like when the developers came across and did a plan and they wanted to develop, they were responsible for making sure that the roads
they
and
were
the
required to have the roads built first
Correct.
before they could break ground on the development. And
Correct.
then they went to Tallahassee, lobbied their little tushies off, and got that they only had to put some money into the entity that owns the road, county, city, state, whatever, and they could build. Yep. And that's how we've ended up with giant tracts of building land and no roads.
Right. And so, gosh, I can't remember.
I can't remember what it's called.
Driving me nuts. Anyway, there's a word for it. They use it for, so city candidate in Delray actually mentioned that word like it was still a thing, like it still happened now. So it's
Which
like
candidate?
Her name is Dolores.
She talked like that's still something that happens.
Yeah.
She didn't know that went away 20 years ago.
Nope,
like 15. No, not 20. Like 15.
She didn't know.
Golly.
So her name is Frances Dolores Rangel, and she worked for the city for 27 years. But we'll get into that in a minute. Let's go back to the county.
Yeah, county first, then cities.
But yeah, I was just so. Even our candidates aren't very educated on, how things work within local government, and so I am all for, if you think that you can serve your city, your county, a special taxing district, whatever, more power to you. I think it's awesome. People should get involved. But also it's like you need to educate yourself on the issues that are going on and then be able to, if you don't have the ability to solve the problem, you need to take as much input as possible and get yourself educated before you say something that you're going to do to solve the problem.
Oh, like so many of our candidates did at the forum, like the Boca forum. I cannot wait to get into that. Cannot wait.
And so, just to kind of finish up this whole DOGE report. So like I said, ad valorem taxes from 2020 to 2025 increased 25%
of the county's budget amount.
Right.
Okay.
So that's what ad valorem increased over that course of time. And guess where most of the increase was? Housing.
Mm-hmm.
Commercial services or community services, Palm-Tran, and Parks and Rec. A majority of it was grants.
Interesting.
So the other 75% was grant money that was received into the county that they then had to account for and allocate.
Interesting.
And then a lot of people don't realize too is that so some municipalities based on size, and I don't know what the parameters is or the rule, but some of our municipalities, because of their size, can't apply for their own grants. So they have to go through the county. So like somebody small, like maybe like Ocean Ridge or something. I'm not saying that that's the case. It may not be the case, but I'm saying like a small municipality might say, hey, like we want to go for this $2 million grant. The county may have to do it on that city's behalf. The county gets the money and then distributes it to the city.
That becomes part of the county budget.
So that becomes part of the county budget. So there's a lot of things that people just don't seem to understand and wrap their head around. A $9 billion budget is a huge budget. Nobody's saying that it's not.
Right.
But when you're looking at 1.5 million residents, we have $650,000 in property values here. The president
$650 million.
$650 billion.
Oh, billion. You said thousand.
Sorry, $650 billion of property value. The president of the United States lives here. There's so many things that kind of come into play, into this county that when you really look at the dollars and cents, it's not as bad as everybody wants to think that it is. But at the same time, I'm not saying that there can't be improvements made. And when you look at department by department, that's when you get to start to...
Yeah, that's when you start digging into the nitty gritty.
Correct. And then that's where you see. So one of the things is, I don't know if it was Angolia or the DOGE report, but it was like increase of government salaries has increased quite a bit. Increase of $70 million in salaries from 2020 to 2026. So I want everybody to know that the average employee salary for Palm Beach County, so if you work for the county, the average...
You're not one of the top things and not an elected.
Right. So the average salary is $72,214. When the average median income in Palm Beach County is $111,000 a year.
So our county employees are making well below the average household.
They are literally doing community service, literally.
At that rate. Yeah. So I think people don't realize. It was very interesting because I was at a conference this last week, and it's a long, I won't get into all the details of the conference, but it was talking about like leaders in like synagogues and churches and stuff looking to be bivocational, because it's been traditional. A lot of times you have a full-time rabbi or a full-time pastor or full-time this, but the cost of living and the cost impact to having that for a young family whose family wants, rabbi wants to go and to become a rabbi, or pastor wants to become a pastor, like all that is getting, it's much, much harder now. And the burden on the community or the congregation is harder as well, because just the economic. And so this guy was giving this talk, and the reason I'm bringing it up is the charts of what the cost of living is, what the cost of salary is. And he just put all these charts up on there. And I feel like a lot of people, especially of a certain age level, do not understand the amount of money that we as millennials might be making now is not necessarily like the wage that it would have been had they been making that money.
Right.
Like if my parents were making what, like, let's say what we make on paper back when I was growing up, oh my gosh, they would have been like high. Right. I'm being a little sarcastic, not quite that high, but it would have been like, so I hear when people hear, oh, $70,000, like your Rod Bragg, that's really good. That's pretty good salary, because, 10 years ago, $70,000 was a great salary. You could live on that. No problem. I don't think
5 years ago, still, it wasn't that bad of a salary.
I don't think people I think there's a group of people who have not grasped the dramatic increase that the cost of living and the salary like ratio there. Does that make sense? I don't know that people actually understand when you say the average household median income is $110,000, and these, like, what? really? That sounds insane. Like, because it seems like it's such like a,
and then it's like, I'm not making $111,
Right.
$110,000, you
right.
know?
But like, again, if you are someone over a certain age, you've probably purchased a home. You've probably this, you probably this, and all of these things that so you're like, but those who are coming up into it, and a lot of the county employees are people my age.
Yep.
And maybe a little older, maybe a little younger, that are not like, okay, well, now what do I do?
Yeah. Well, I mean, when I worked for,
Excuse me.
you know, when I worked for the government, I couldn't afford to pay my bills. You know, that was part of the reason why I left, was because of the fact that I was like, I'm making 65 grand a year and I can't pay my bills. I can't get it done. And where, you know, I mean, I came from a corporate industry and, you know, I was making 100 grand a year, you know, so it's like, to take that much of a pay cut, you know, was tough. And through COVID, a lot of people don't understand how much COVID came into play. Yeah. You know, because the inflation and everything and bad administration, we had 4 years of Biden. Like,
right.
This,
and
this
so I
is
just
the results
wanted to,
of all
that's
of
what
that.
I wanted to say. It's like, I think when you say, oh, the average salary is $70,000, a lot of people are like, that sounds great.
Right.
But let's compare. Let's compare.
But in Palm Beach County, it's not.
Palm Beach County, it's not. You can't get a house for under a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house for under $500,000 here.
Average median household price is $650,000 in Palm Beach County right now.
There you are. And that's for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,200 square foot house. That's not for like, you know, anything
it's not a
crazy.
mansion on the.
It's a starter home. That is a starter home price in Palm Beach County.
And you can get a little less if you go into a condo or a townhome.
Yeah.
But if you want a single family home, and then if you're in an HOA or whatever, you know,
or you're in an A-rated school district.
Yep, you're going right back up. So, you know, we increased spending from 2020 to 2026, 16 million in homeless spending. You know, so it's like everybody complains about the homeless. We're not doing enough for the homeless. We increased it's like we ended up doing $16 million in increased spending to help our homeless population to get back to 2020 numbers. So like 1,500 people were homeless in 2020. It went up and now it's back down because of the $16 million that we invested.
I partially, strongly, mostly, very much blame the county for shutting down.
Yeah.
When the county locked people down and locked jobs down, if the county had not done that, because remember, just a reminder, we were in the free state of Florida. We were not in the free county of Palm Beach County. Right. I went to so many county commission meetings, and there were people there that were telling the commissioners, I am living in my car now. My husband and I owned a house, and within 3 months, because of we both lost our jobs, we both this, and we
had to shutter our business.
We had to shutter, and now we're about to have to move in to live in our car. And the county went,
sorry,
too bad.
Here's services for you.
No, we're still not opening the business.
Yeah,
sorry, I just had to.
So
remind everybody what got us into this mess. Part of what got us into the mess, because then now they're saying, so let me finish that thought. Now we as the taxpayers where it's coming out of whether it's coming out of Valorum or wherever it's coming from, still taxpayers are now having to subsidize the cost for the homeless that the county inflicted on us.
Yep. No, it's a very good point. It's a very good point. Another thing is that we got $8.9 million from an opioid settlement I don't know, there was a big lawsuit there was a class action lawsuit that we ended up getting a part of, and then that was $8.9 million. So
interesting.
So it's like we benefited from that, so that goes into the budget. That didn't come from taxpayer dollars. That went from these opioid companies, that came in. So it's very interesting, so it's like, yes, our budget has increased. Yes, we can still do some things. Yes, we still have to we have to audit departments. We need to, it's like, I remember the office of, what is it? It was equal opportunity.
Yeah.
Business
EEOB
department. Yeah. So I remember looking at the line, that department, like looking at line items. And I was like, just about every one of these employees have to have a car based on this, so it was like, there's things there that you're like, could probably be reined in a little bit. But when I looked through things, there's nothing that glares at you that says, oh, like
fraud, waste, or I mean, there's definitely waste, but it's not fraud or abuse. And I think people confuse link those up very often that, oh, if there's waste, then it must be fraud, or it must be this, or it must be that. Yeah. And I don't know that that's the case.
No,
maybe, I don't know.
I mean, we have over 30 departments. I think 6,000 employees, something like that. $1.5 million, residents in Palm Beach County. Like, there's a lot of things, and I mean, we're not giving all of our money to Somalis in Minnesota.
No, we don't have that problem.
We don't have that problem here.
Something else you have to consider too is how diverse Palm Beach County is as far as like residential living and topography and geography and things like, not geography, but topography and stuff. Because when you have a county that has extreme population centers like the west, like the eastern side of West Palm, where it's a very high like financial district, and southern county, Boca and Delray, that are becoming bigger and bigger business districts and things like that. And then you have the largest agricultural producer east of the Mississippi is our county as well. So you have to have, as a county, as far as services or messaging, all the departments have to be so different. You can't have a farm bureau department or the farm the agricultural department and the business department be in this. Like, they're completely different. They have different needs. They service different things. They service different types of people. So like the fact also that our county is so big and so diverse adds to the fact that you do need to have different sections in order to address the different things, the very, very different things that the county has.
And that's why we have district commissioners, is because of the fact that what you need in District 6 is way different than what you need in District 4. I mean, you're talking totally different makeup and composition and people. You have a lot of, renters maybe in District 4, where you have a lot more property owners in District 6, or whatever that aspect is. And so like I said, I have a couple of those slides that I'll throw up into the video. Hopefully you've seen them by the time you've gotten to this point in the show. And I highly encourage you to watch that section in the county commission meeting, because I think this is going to probably get a little worse before it gets better. And that's just because of the fact you're going to hear these little snidbits and you're not going to have a lot of full understanding. Yeah. And so just take a step back and learn and educate yourself on the processes and ask questions. There's a lot of candidates running for office this year.
Oh yeah.
And so this is your opportunity to be that. And I've said this 100 times. It's your opportunity to be a human resource director and ask the potential employee what you expect from them and what their education and knowledge and background is and what they bring to the table. Just because you think they look cute, or
they're of your party, they're popular in your party,
exactly,
or they say all kinds of really pretty things in little 30-second snippets and speeches that stir your emotions and get you all excited.
That is not necessarily a reason to vote for them.
That's correct. Ask them different questions. So segue? Was that our segue?
So, so that's a little bit of what's going on in the county. I think you're going to see this really addressed because, believe it or not, we're getting into budget season. You got, March, April is when we start talking the next budget.
It's crazy.
And, right after municipals, it seems like everybody starts diving into their budgets. Now is the time to get yourself educated and knowledged, so that you understand what's going on and that you can be part of the solution and not part of the problem.
Amen, sister. Okay, so speaking of asking questions, Boca Raton, as we all know, is having a giant elections. Probably, I have to think this has to be a record of the amount of candidates that are running. And it's because it's compounded by the fact that Andy Thompson is because he's running for mayor, is having to resign from his seat, which is opening again, resign from his seat again, which is opening up a third seat. Essentially. Yep. So what would have been only 2 seats and a mayoral race is now 3 seats and a mayoral race. So here is what happened. We had a forum. Shout out to Brian Stenberg, guest
Yes.
on our show and supporter and friend. And to former councilwoman Andrew O'Rourke for running a phenomenal candidate forum.
Yes.
There was probably, how many people you think? 150 people attending?
Oh my gosh. The whole inside was full.
And I saw the sign that said that room is capped at 93 people.
Yep.
So-
and then you had the overflow, which was full. And then they had a second overflow.
Yeah, like
that
the
had
lobby
like 10 or 15
had another.
people.
Yeah, so there's probably at least 150 people, if
Probably,
not
yeah.
pushing 200
Yeah.
at this forum. So, and they did it. They started with the council member candidates and then did that. And then they pulled them off and then had the mayoral, which I thought was really good because
Yeah,
it didn't
I like that too.
conflate the issues too much, even though a lot of it's the same questions. Because newsflash, it's essentially the same job as the mayor in a city that does not have a
You
strong
just
mayor
get a fancy
position.
title.
You're one of 5 council members on a vote. You don't get a gavel. I mean, you do get a gavel, but it's ceremonial. And but what you don't get is an executive pen. So I'm going to start work my way backwards a little bit to the mayoral candidate who thought that you can say the day one when I come into office, I'm going to put this away and this is going to be done. And we're not doing this anymore. And we're not doing that anymore. And that's your campaign rhetoric. You do not have an executive pen. You don't get to come in as the mayor of Boca and say, okay, no more this, no more that. That's not how any of this works.
So he's lying.
Yeah,
when
so
he's
lying.
campaigning.
He's either lying or he's ignorant. Either one, bad candidate. So I'm going to name names.
Yeah, of course.
So that's Liebelson, Mike Liebelson, who purports himself to be part of Save Boca. I've heard through the scuttlebutt is he claims Save Boca, but Save Boca does not claim him. I don't know if that's true or not. If anyone from Save Boca wants to correct me, please feel free. All I know is that he focused a lot of his responses and his campaign on the downtown, on Save Boca. Oh, the big one, another big one. He talked about how when the first day he's in office that there'll be no more variances. So variance, for anyone who doesn't know, if the zoning has a restriction on how high something can be built and a builder wants to get an exception, a variance is basically an exception to the rule, they have to go before the city council and request a variance. So he complained during the forum that the council's time is to so many hours and hours just taken up with all of these variances and day one when I come into office, we're not going to be discussing any more variances anymore. The dude asked for a variance for his personal house to be built higher. I believe it's higher. I don't know exactly what the variance. Asked for a variance. It's on record. So hypocrite. Okay. So all he could talk about was the downtown. He had
Can we talk about his cup?
Yes, and we can talk about his cup. Okay, so I'm going to send you these pictures. Maybe you can put them up on in the chat. Yeah. Okay, so I noticed very quickly that he had a cup sitting next to him that said, I'm going to get it exactly so I can quote it exactly to you. His cup said, oh, that's the wrong picture. I can't see. Oh, where's my pictures? Oh, see y'all. Hold on. Sorry. Stand by. I want to make sure I quote it correctly. His cup said, this is the coffee of an awesome mayor. This is what an awesome mayor looks like. Okay. So he has that sitting next to him.
He's not even elected yet.
Never been elected, never run for anything. He's only lived in Boca for 10 years, which considering that it's a pretty transient area is not crazy. But when you're comparing this to like Fran, who's lived here for 30 years,
Different.
A little bit different. And then again, comparing it to Fran's water bottle next to her, the city of Boca Raton. What does that tell you? It tells you one is there for self-service because, why not? And the other is there to actually serve the people in this city. That's Liebelson. He had no good answers for anything. He doesn't know anything about the job. He doesn't know that it's a 5-person
Talked
vote.
about, what is it? Colorado or Montana?
Things in Montana. Nobody knew what he was talking about. He didn't know anything. Again, all he had were pretty words about no more development, no more development, no more development, which let me preface all this by saying I'm not a huge fan of giant development. I'm pretty much against that. I'm against changing the heights in Boca. I'm against a lot of the things. I like my city. I like it a lot. I like it the way it is. Does that mean that it's not going to ever change? No. Does that mean it shouldn't have some changes? No. What it means is you need to have someone in office who knows how to make the changes correctly. And he clearly does not.
And we have something called property rights.
So that's Liebelson. Okay.
Yeah, I did not get the warm and fuzzies about him at all. He came off very egotistical in my mind.
Yeah.
And really didn't understand the issues of Boca.
He didn't understand the job.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, issues, yes, you need to know those. But if you are going to be like the way he was speaking, I really and truly think that he thinks it's a strong mayor's job. Yeah. I really do, which means that he hasn't done any research. I bet you he doesn't even know what the word strong mayor is. I don't know. I was like, you can't do that. Yeah. But he's making all these promises. He's lying to people. Lying or ignorant. Either one disqualifies him as being the next mayor of the city.
Correct.
Agreed. That's my opinion. I'm sticking to it.
Agreed.
Okay. So then we've got Nokolis and Thompson for mayor. I think everyone pretty much knows how I feel about Thompson. Is a very nice man. I think he does care about the city, but I also think he cares about his career in politics. And
this is just the next step.
This is a next stepping stone for him. And I want to say this as well. I find it very interesting that the Save Boca slate has not picked a mayoral candidate. And I think they want Thompson in because I think he's going to give them, I think they want Thompson in because they think he's anti the development, but I don't think he's anti the development.
No, because he's a wolf in sheep's clothing.
He's taken a lot of money from the developer who wanted to develop that property to the nth degree.
Right.
Which makes you wonder, how can you be against it if you're taking all the money, which money's money. I don't know.
And every time he's gotten into a position in Boca, he leaves it for higher, a higher office. He resigned last time to run against Peggy Gossett-Seidman. He lost.
Then he ran for city council again. This is the seat he's currently holding. And now he's resigning to run.
Resigned it to run for mayor. And I'm telling you, mark it, the date, the time, we're February 3rd at, 8:39 right now at this particular moment. If Andy Thompson becomes mayor, I promise you in 2 years, he'll be running for Congress or State House.
Yeah.
He will not
2 to 4 because it depends on where Peggy lands on this. He won't run against Peggy again.
No,
I don't think. I think it depends. He's either going to do it in 2 years for Congress or 4 years for State House.
Yeah.
I agree.
And so this is just
or county commission in 4 years, which is another one. Either way, he's not going to finish 2 terms as mayor.
No,
he might finish 1, but he won't
that's
finish
only
2.
because the right seat won't open up for him in the time frame that he needs it to be. That's only logistics. It's not because he wouldn't do it.
That's correct. I concur. I agree with that. All right, let's go to seat A. Seat A, we've got.
Well, let's talk about Fran.
Oh, let's talk about Fran. That's true.
So Fran Nokolis came off very sincere.
Yes.
She's my favorite pick.
Same.
It's going to be kind of obvious. We're a little biased here, but that's because we've educated ourselves.
But I will say this. I went in. I had an open mind to I want to hear what everyone has to say.
Yeah,
I want to see because there were a lot of candidates that I never heard Liebelson say anything ever. All I've ever gotten from him is mailers or text messages or his wife messaging people, and I've never heard him say anything. So I was actually very curious to see what people had to say. And so I did go in with it. I do have my favorites kind of already, but I was like, I want to hear what some of these other candidates have to say. And I'm going to be honest about my opinions on a lot of them. But just for the record, but Fran, the mayor, nothing changed my mind on that. I was like, yep.
She stumbled on a few questions. I think she got a little nervous with the time frame that, she was
so they ran the form. They had literally a minute to answer each question. And then Brian was very strict with that, which I appreciated, but that can make you a little
so
jumpy sometimes.
That's the way that she came off to me as far as is what it looked like to me, is that she wanted to be able to get out her train of thought in a short amount of time, and it got a little difficult for her to articulate it in that little block of time that she was given. You could see her passion for the city.
Yeah.
She was very clear about she's not rubber stamping anything. She's taking everything as it comes. She's getting as much information before she makes a decision. I think that came across really strong for her. You got to hear, she's lived here for 30 years. Mm-hmm. She's an avid, bicyclist and I think she's a marathon runner or something. She runs.
She's done two Ironmans.
Yeah. She's like 4 foot.
I mean,
nothing.
A little taller than that, but yeah, not much. She's done 2 Ironmans, which tells you that she's got serious like grit and determination.
Yeah.
She comes across as very like
Petite,
sweet
and kind
and nice,
sweet.
and she's really pretty, and she's very, and then she's like, but you're like, oh, if she did 2 Ironmans, like, you know that there's an iron core in there somewhere.
She could take you in an arm wrestling
match.
She
could probably take you in an arm wrestling match, and she's probably very determined. And she also was very knowledgeable on issues facing the city, on projects facing the city, on the future of the city. There's a big thing that I didn't know about, which shame on me, I should have known. So there's an ordinance that determines, I can't remember, it's like 425 or something like that, that was passed years and years and years ago by the city council, that determines certain aspects about the city for city planning. It's probably a lot of the heights. It has to do with like parking amounts per square foot of building, like very specific things on how the city was going to be developed. And that ordinance expires in 2 years. And so a lot of the conversation with both the council and the mayor's office, races, was what's happening. What do you think should happen there? And she gave some she showed very good knowledge of the ordinance and things that she thinks should be changed, but also things that she but I don't want to go in and just swipe everything. But she's like, but there's some things that can be updated so that make it actually stricter for developers. So one thing she said was like, right now a developer, when they have to have a certain amount of green space per square foot that they're building, and they can hide that green space under staircases or over covered walkways. She's like, and that's not real green space. So I'd like to see stricter rules for developers to be guidelines of what green space actually can be. And I was like, that is the type of person I want running my
cares about definitions and
details
parameters
and the real issues. These are real things, not on day 1 no variances.
After I asked for one, I don't need them anymore.
Yeah, no, so I got what I need. I'm going to pull the ladder up behind me. I got to build my house as tall as I wanted. You don't get to. Rules for thee, and not for me. Ugh.
And I didn't realize that she had helped more of the parks and public land areas be able to allow you to be able to walk your dog. I didn't know that.
Yeah, that was a big conversation too. I'm good with them walking their dogs in public areas. I'm curious to see the push for where they would like to have the dogs come to. There has to be lines.
I think like children's parks is not a place for dogs.
I hope not. That would make me very, very upset.
But walkways and, like on running paths
on leash
and things like that, I think. I have four dogs, so I love that.
I thought that was good too.
Yeah.
It showed her compassionate side too, which she absolutely has.
Yeah.
So
I think, in all honesty, I do think that she came off as the best candidate. And to be honest, she did struggle on a couple things,
but to me that shows she was real.
Yeah.
Andy came off very polished and very polished.
Well, he counts on that.
I know, that's what I'm saying. And so that's my point. Like, I feel like Andy does have a good grasp. Like, he's a good grasp with the issues. He understood. He did say some things I agree with. He was asked if he would support districting, and he said if that's what the people wanted, I think that would be great. So I appreciate him saying that. So there were definitely some things that he said that I agreed with. I think that's why Fran having those little bit of stumbles actually endeared me a little more, because it shows that she was really real and really thinking about it and not like had a polished answer for every single thing. And that's the someone, again.
She's the one that came off as not a politician.
Yeah. It's true.
She really did. She came off as just one of us that is looking to do the best for the city.
That's very true.
And using her education and knowledge and experience to be a good mayor and move the city in a forward direction that everyone can be happy with.
And I like how she was very honest too. So she said, I support this downtown development project as where it stands, because she has also pushed for many new iterations. She was one of them that was like, I'm hearing this from people. I'm hearing this from people. This needs to be changed. We need to see better this, and pushing for the developer to come back with better options and more options. And she's been very transparent. And that's the thing I really like about her too, is I believe her when she says, I support this. I hope you do too. And if not, that's fine. We'll come up with something else. Versus someone who's just like, I have stood and said no every single time. I don't know. The whole thing, the way Andy comes across about it just gives me the where she's like, I support it. and here's why. And I appreciate that because you know where she stands on things. You're not like going.
She's being very honest and transparent in the way that she feels. And to also, she has all the information. She knows everything.
She knows everything.
As far as like the plans, what the, like what the developer, like you could tell if somebody's just coming to rake you over the coals and make money and all of that kind of stuff. Or if they're somebody that's, interested in actually, I thought let me switch gears before I finish that thought, is that I thought about this the other day, is it's like you have your developers, right, that just come in and like build an apartment complex and use the cheapest materials possible to make the most money possible, right? And then you have developers that are like invested in their community and they're like, oh, this would look so pretty on this corner. And if we had these type of trees and if we did this kind of setback and had this kind of easement and, if we had, midline finishes that weren't too fancy, but, not like, drugstore quality, you can tell when you meet with these developers, like where their interest really lies. And everybody wants to make money. I'm not saying, everybody wants to make money and come off from a project profitable. But if a lot of our hometown developers that actually develop, that live here, work here, play here, they really are invested in their community.
Well, it's funny you say that because my husband, we were I was up in West Palm last week for a board meeting and we were going to South Florida Fair afterwards. So he dropped me off at the board meeting, took the kids to go hang out somewhere while he worked and they got something to eat and then da-da-da. So they ended up going into City Place. And he came out and he picked me up. He's like, have you been to City Place? I was like, I have been on the end. I hadn't gone through the main changes where all the changes were in the main thoroughfare there. And he's like, it is amazing. He's like, it's beautiful. So he's like, I want to drive. Let's drive through it. And we drove through it. My kids loved it. The trees, it felt so warm and so lush and so like you wanted to just like park somewhere and just hang out. Yeah. It was very inviting. They still had all the commercial stores. You couldn't even almost see what stores they were because there was so much greenery and so much like the it was beautiful. And I was like, I'm pretty sure this is the developer that has the contracts to develop the downtown, Boca downtown. And he was, because it's Ross related. And he was like, oh, then I'm voting yes. He was like, this would be amazing to have as our downtown, have as a downtown area. And my kids are like, can we go back? Can we go back? And it did not feel commercialized. It felt beautiful. It felt like a warm place to hang out. Yeah. And that's what we want for our parks and our downtown. And it won't look exactly like that.
And that's what I think somebody like Fran will fight for.
Yes. And then she also said, sorry, last thing. She said too, she was like, she's like, I have also said from the beginning that I want the people to vote on this. Yeah. So I'm happy it's going to the ballot. So even though she's supported it, and honestly, there's a good chance it won't pass because Save Boca being cuckoo bananas, but hope it does. Hope it doesn't. I haven't 100% decided because I still am back and forth. I'm saying my husband wanted this. He said he would. I'm not making a claim to anything, but I just really genuinely appreciated how she was. I like this. But I've said from the beginning, I want the people to vote on it. And if they don't want it, we'll do something else. Yeah. That is what we want as a politician. Yeah. As for our governing us.
Exactly. So after the mayoral race, we have Seat A.
Seat A, we've got Michelle Grau, Bernie Korn, and Kristen Ritchie.
So Bernie was Bernie.
Bernie makes me laugh every time he talks. I start cracking up. I actually love what some of the things he said, but I don't think he should be saying them from the dais as the city councilman. But I think he wants to open the school. I was like, why are you wasting your time running? It's just an opportunity for him to talk about the business school that he wants to open. And I was like, you won't even be able to open that if you're on the council because it's a conflict of interest. Like you'd have to recuse yourself from opening something like that here. Like that would be a problem. But I think he just is using the platform to talk about what it's not bad ideas. I was like, we could use a school that teaches people how to, I don't know what was other things.
Yeah, I don't know what it was either.
It was so government. Political campaigning.
Yeah. So
sorry, it made me laugh. It made me laugh so hard.
So Bernard Korn is a serial runner. He runs in every race.
I ran against Bernard Korn.
I don't think you're somebody in Boca unless you ran against him for a race.
Or something. I actually am curious how many races he's run in.
Yeah.
I'll have to go look because I ran in 2021. He's run in every race since then, and I know he was running in races before that. He ran against Scott Singer in 2020. I know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's not really. I can't say that he's a serious candidate.
No, he's not.
The likelihood of him winning the seat is slim to none. But also at the same time, you have to appreciate his tenacity and his ability to
his personality. He's so funny.
Just put it out there and say whatever he wants. And
Bernie.
All right. Bernie's Bernie.
So we've got Michelle Grau and Kristen Ritchie. So full disclosure, I am supporting Kristen Ritchie. She is a friend of mine. She has, but not just for that reason, but she is very passionate about the city. She's raising her kids here. She was raised here. So it's definitely something that cares a lot about. She was great. I thought she really did so well in that forum. Really and again, not just because she was a friend of mine, but like she was just, she was strong. She was knowledgeable. She was passionate, informative.
She was very articulate, and she was the only one on the panel that talked about taxes if ad valorem taxes go away. So, which was really...
I told her she needs to be ready to bring that up, not to toot my own horn.
So, I was looking for that from all of the candidates, and she was the only one in the forum.
I'm surprised it was not asked.
I know.
I feel like
that was my question, and it didn't get asked. But we'll
pick up on with Brian later.
Because I think it is really important. And Michelle Grau, a couple of the questions that she got, she answered well.
Yeah, I liked her. If she wasn't running against Kristen, right. I would probably be giving her the nod to something else. I kind of wish she was running in one of these other races. I wish she was running in seat D. But I did hear through the grapevine that she did want to run for seat D and was told by John Perlman, who's running for seat B and the leader of Save Boca, that she cannot run for seat D and she must run for seat A.
Really?
That's the scuttlebutt.
Oh, okay.
So right then and there, that disqualifies her for me, because if you can't make up your own mind about what seat you want to run in, you're going to let someone else tell you what seat you have to run in, then you shouldn't be running.
Yeah, because
you can't be trusted to make good decisions.
Ultimately, it screws them over, because if you would have gotten her and Kristen Ritchie and Mark Wigder and Fran Nokolis, that's
a great board.
That's a great city council.
That'd be great.
That would have been awesome.
Yep.
And so, and I know a lot of people that are supporting Michelle Grau. Like I said, she answered a lot of the questions, articulately.
Yeah, I didn't have anything that I was really like, ooh,
Yeah, but there wasn't anything that I was like, oh, wow, that's
nothing that would have swayed me from Kristen.
Yeah, where Kristen just came up, I think she's a mediator or something.
Yeah, so she's a family attorney and a mediator.
Yeah, so, she can articulate in a way to have not a persuasive argument, but to get people to see both sides of the argument.
Which I think, depending on how this shakes out,
her skills are going to be needed.
Her skills are definitely going to be needed. Sorry, I'm waving at my list as I'm waving. Depending on how these other races shake out, I think I really strongly encourage people to contact her.
And I believe that Kristen has been encouraged to run for a few years now. Is that correct?
So she actually filed to run against Mark Wigder back in 2022 going into 23, so 3 years ago. And she did file to run. That's when I met her, because I recognized her name. I saw the name pop up and I recognized her because our kids went to school together and we're in the same class, so I knew who she was. And so I had reached out to her and was like, hey, how, who are you? I knew her, but I didn't know who she was. Yeah. So I was like, hey, I heard you're running. Let's talk. So I met with her for coffee and we talked a lot about Boca, and I really liked what she had to say. And I was kind of torn though, because I also really liked Mark at the time too. I was I was on the fence-ish about Mark because I thought he was a Scott Singer puppet, which turns out he's really not. He does his own thing.
He's not.
But I had heard Mark speak before and was starting to like him a little bit more, and I was like, ooh, this is gonna be interesting. Okay. And long story short, she withdrew from the race before qualifying, really closed, because she's because I met with Mark and we had the same ideas on things that we wanted to do, and we thought that I didn't want to run against him, which I thought was very, very smart, because when I first got into politics and I decided to run, one of the people I went to for advice gave me a really good piece of advice. And he said, never run in a race against someone that you don't want to beat. Or that you don't think you're better than. Like those two things. And she was like, she didn't know I had that advice in my head, but that's basically what she said is like, I didn't want to beat him.
Yeah.
And so if I don't want to beat someone, then I don't want to spend the money, time, or energy trying to.
Yeah. So
it's essentially what happened. And so she withdrew and she...
So she's a smart candidate.
Yeah, she's very smart. She knows her races. She knows her time. She has served on the Planning and Zoning Commission since then. She got appointed to the Planning and Zoning Commission in the city. So she's been on that for a couple of years. So she has really good working knowledge of the zoning laws, projects that are in the pipeline, like... So she really understands things that are going on in the city in a way that these other two candidates don't.
Right.
And not only that, she told me as well that she actually went to the Save Boca spot where they were getting petitions signed, and she signed Michelle's petition to get her on the ballot. She's like, everyone deserves a chance to run. I'll run against you. That's fine. Awesome. So she's a good person. Yes.
Yeah.
So
she means well. She wants what's best for her city. And if she didn't think she was the best person for the job, she would.
Exactly. She's already shown that if she doesn't think she's the best person for that race, she would withdraw. And she's like, no, I'm not leaving. This is my race.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, she did a great job. So now we're on to seat B.
So we have Meredith Madsen, John Perlman, and Mark Wigder. So let's talk about Perlman for a second. John Perlman is the head and the leader and the driving force of Save Boca. He's an interesting character, man.
He has no substance beyond Save Boca.
He has no substance beyond Save Boca. The man has put in 6 figures of his own money into the Save Boca movement, which I understand. There are some people who are so very altruistic and they are willing to do stuff like that. I just have this thing in my mind that's going ding, ding, ding. Something's up, something's up, something's up. There's something in it for him. Something's in it for him. People are not that altruistic. I'm sorry. They're just really not.
Yeah.
And so I have strong suspicions, but he is, here's what his part of his charm. He is very good at speaking about passionately and somewhat knowledgeably about the things that he knows.
Yeah.
And therefore, he has been able to convince a crap ton of people to follow him like the freaking Pied Piper. And that's what got us into the Save Boca mess, is him giving these impassioned speeches about this one specific topic. And therefore, people don't ask any other questions because people think that when you hear someone speak authoritatively on one subject, that means they must know a lot of things about a lot of other things. And that is very rarely the case, actually.
This is definitely not the case.
Definitely not the case.
He stumbled through every question that
unless it was Save Boca.
Unless it was about development.
And he still turned, not even development, just that development.
That's true.
He couldn't even talk about any other development projects or any other things or anything else other than that specific project. And if it didn't have anything to do with that project, he still turned it to that project.
Yeah.
He actually said that he would not have voted for and thought it was a mistake to bring Blue Lake Elementary here to the city.
Yes.
Literally said that. Said, well, it wasn't a good idea. He didn't say the words Blue Lake Elementary. He said, I think it was not good for that to be brought here. The city, the city gave away land that was valued at blah, blah, blah for a school. And who needs a school? And like, he just like had this whole attitude about it. And we're all like, who says that? And so was it Madsen? It was the woman who was running against him, Meredith, went after him on that. And she got to speak next. And I don't even remember what her question was. And she was like, before I answer that, what brings property values up in the city? Our school district.
Yeah.
You're telling me that you didn't want to bring one of the top rated schools to our city? Like, what's wrong with you? She totally called him on it. I wanted to stand up and cheer. Like, it was so good. So bring me to her. Like, I was impressed with her articulation.
Yeah.
I kind of wish she also was not running in this race because I really like Mark.
Yeah.
as well.
And that's the thing is, I mean, she came off well. I think, Perlman came off very ego driven.
He came off smarmy.
Yeah.
But he had that, but he would hit the points. You could tell when he was in the pocket of his speech.
Yep.
And when he was in that, he sounded great. He sounded clear. You did want to stand up and cheer because you're like, yeah, those developers, grr. And then you're like, wait a minute. That's not what, no. But then again, if it wasn't that pocket, he couldn't do anything. He knew nothing about anything else that was asked of him about the city. And that is, again, so dangerous.
Yeah. And what I found it very interesting is when I looked back on it, it's like I can't even remember Meredith Madsen at all. Like she was
I just remember when she went after him about Blue Lake.
So it was like she was just very insignificant in my point of view. She didn't come off as like, oh wow, like that's, Mark's gonna have a run for his money there. Like she brings something substantial to the table. And I mean there was this little pinging back and forth, I think, between Perlman and Wigder a little bit. They were kind of rubbing each other a little, the wrong way a little bit. And I thought Mark did a very good job. I was a little disappointed at the end when he kind of used his closing arguments to kind of attack the Save Boca movement.
It's not a good look. It's not going to go over well.
Yeah, so I think that... And also at the same time, if you listen to the whole forum, you kind of didn't blame him for what he said.
Yeah.
And so that showed his realness to me, but also and his annoyance by this. The Save Boca movement means well. I want to make that very clear. I think they really do want what's best for the city. But they just don't have any knowledge or experience or know-how to actually implement anything to be substantial.
Yeah.
It's very superficial. It's very just for clicks and highlights.
It's very emotional.
Exactly.
It's very, very emotional. Evidenced by the fact that they asked the audience to stop clapping, because if you have to pause for applause, if you Stu pissed you off a little bit,
my God.
It was
Stu wanted to stand up and yell at everybody.
I honestly, I was like, I feel like Brian should clear the room. He should clear the room.
So we knew who was doing security. So I wanted to take the security guy and say, like, why don't you just tell all of that roll that they have to move? Because they
could not stop. Like, this is the emotional part. They could not control themselves to the point where when someone said something they liked, they all had to clap like seals. And Brian asked multiple times, because if you clap, then you have to pause the thing to let everyone clap for about whatever it is, 5, 10, 20 seconds. That adds up when you're when you have 12 candidates, there's 3, 6, 9 candidates that you've got to try to get a bunch of questions
to. Came up on the screen, no cheering or jeering,
And they still did it. And I was like, this is evidence of that people, they cannot control their emotions. And I understand it is emotional. Like, I get it. This is the city I am choosing to live in. This is the city that I want to raise my kids in. And I hope that they want to stay here and come back. So I understand that it is emotional. But we cannot be ruled by our emotions. And when you cannot keep your hands still, when you've been asked multiple times to, like, grown bleep adults, that shows that there's something weird going on with this whole thing. That means you're not able to think clearly and logically about what is being said. And that's my problem. Like, I had talked to someone afterwards and they were like, I was like, oh, Liebelson, thinking, calling, oh yeah, I'm sorry. Going back to Liebelson for a second. He called in his closing remarks, he called the city council a commission 3 times.
That's
3 times.
Right,
it wasn't just a one slip up. He called it 3 times.
Every time he talked, he called it a commission.
He called it a commission.
Did not call it a city council.
It's not that's not the name of it. It's just not the name of it. And is there a difference between council and commission? Nobody really knows. It's a gray area. It's funky. Fine. But that doesn't change the fact that it's not called a commission. It is called a council.
If you're running, you should know.
You should know. And so I was like expressing this to someone, like my frustration, and she's just like, oh, well, Andy and Fran just rubber stamp everything and blah, 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 blah. And I was like, did we not just sit through the same forum? And I was just like, okay, so we're just ruled by emotions. Like, that's what that is. Yeah. And again, I'm not minimizing emotion. I'm a woman. Emotions are very important. Ask my husband. But you cannot let politics be ruled by emotions.
No.
Because when you do, you end up with really, really bad people in government.
It is a bad combination.
Yeah.
When you are choosing your representatives by emotion.
So Mark, I am struggling because Mark, I think, has done a great job as a councilman.
I do too.
I think he's very, very smart. The problem is I don't know that he reads the room very well. And I think that's going to bite him in the tushy.
Yeah.
So I don't know how that's going to play out. I do know that Perlman was very mad when Meredith Madsen jumped in because she's not in the Save Boca echelons. I think she was. And then she saw Perlman for who he was and decided to run, and it ticked him off because he was planning to run. I guess they had a plan on who was going to run for what seat, and she knew he was planning to run for that seat, and she filed to run against him specifically.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
This is all scuttlebutt. So if I get something wrong, feel free to email me. This is all rumor mills. Rumor mills are a rumoring. But this is what happens in a small town.
Our track record is pretty good, though. We usually are able
we're usually pretty
follow the scuttlebutt to the accurate aspects of how it turns out and how it's happening. And so like I said, Mark, concerned me a little bit in his closing and the way that it's
just the way he's coming across. It's not what he's saying, and that's the problem,
right? Because what he said was true and accurate, and
he's very blunt
and very poignant. But at the same time, it's like you're trying to earn people's votes, and you're trying to get
and that's
them
where I am
your
not
corner.
sure that it's going to translate.
I don't think he got much. I don't know if he would have gotten much buy-in if you weren't paying attention to the city council and understanding how he operates.
Yeah.
So if you're new and, first-time voter
and
Boca,
you're believing and you're being sucked into what the Save Boca people are saying, it's easy to listen to him and be like, psh, pompous politician. He doesn't know what he's talking about. We got to save the city.
Right.
It's easy to do that because he's not doing a whole lot to try to combat that in the way he speaks.
Right. And I think what happens is that then Meredith actually becomes kind of the middle ground. So she might get votes just because people want something different, but they don't want Perlman. So, it's going to be
an interesting race.
It's going to be an interesting seat.
Because I'll tell you this, if Perlman gets in there, we're in for a world of trouble. If he gets in there with a few of these other people.
Correct.
If he gets in there by himself, he's just going to be a nuisance.
Yeah.
If he gets in there with a few of these other people, we're going to have some problems.
And he's going to complain that he can't do anything that he wants to do.
That's what's going to happen. But,
all
right.
And he's going to blame everybody else.
Oh, yeah. That's what they do. But again, I just want to say he also is very new to the city. He hasn't lived in the city for very long or been homesteaded in the city for very long, which,
isn't his address or isn't his qualification in question?
His qualification is in question, and we'll have more information on that hopefully in our next episode. But you can look it up. I looked it up. He bought his house in December of 2024, which you have to live in the city for a year for 365 days.
Which would have been before November.
Right.
He should have. So he was.
Was he a renter before? We don't know. That's when he homesteaded. I don't know. There's some questions because his driver's license supposedly is not Boca at that time. So I don't know. It's questions.
That's kind of interesting.
There's questions. But beside that, I still have so many red flags as to why somebody would put hundreds of thousands of dollars into a movement and get nothing out of it personally. Again, I know that there are lots of people who are very altruistic that do that. He does not come across as that type of person.
Yeah.
So that's my thing. There's something hinky there, and I don't know what it is, but I think it's hinky. So if you know what it is, please let me know.
Right, exactly. So that moves us to seat D.
And D is interesting because it's only going to be elected for a year.
Yeah, you have to finish Thompson's term.
You have to finish Thompson's term. So 2 years. 24. When did that seat get elected? He got elected in 24 or 25?
24.
Okay, so.
Right?
No.
Isn't that when Brian ran? It was 24?
I can't remember.
Yeah.
So he got elected in 24. Okay, so yeah, it's a year. Mm-hmm. So it's a year. And then that will be up for re-election. So running in that seat, Bob Weinroth. Something Sipper? What's her name? Sydney Sipper?
Stacy
Sipple. Stacy Sipple. And Larry Sellon.
Yes.
Okay, so Bob Weinroth, we all know who Bobby Bob is. Bob Weinroth was a sitting county commissioner. He was on the city council back in the late teens, And then he threw back when all of the shenanigans with Haney happened, Mayor Haney. Mayor Haney was actually the one who was supposed to run for that county commission seat. So there's some questions on how all that went down, but here we are. She was not able to run because she got arrested, and Bob Weinroth ran for that county commission seat and got elected. So he was on the county commission from 2018 to 2022 when we yeeted him out of there. You're out of here. And
we may have had a small hand in that.
Helps with that just a little bit. He brought it on himself.
He was the sitting mayor as a Democrat, and he,
lost.
And he didn't do anything to help get us open for COVID or anything of
he
that
actively
nature,
worked against us. He lied to us.
Yes.
He lied to us. He told us, I will help you. I will help you. I will help you. And then he flipped on that dais, and we wanted to know what happened. So we decided he would never run unopposed again, and he didn't. And that's how we got Marcy.
And he lost that mayor's seat real quick. And now he's been trying to figure out what to do as a Republican ever since.
He changed parties. He filed to run for school board. And then he removed from that and then ran for Congress. Lost the primary. And here we are.
Here we are. Now he's back to the city
council.
Boca.
So he's from Boca. He lives in Boca. So yeah, that's he came across as very Bob. Yeah. Like he had some good answers for some things. I think he's probably pretty knowledgeable.
Yeah.
I also don't really trust him. I feel like he's gonna political wins, which way they blow, and that's the way I'm gonna go.
Yeah.
So which could be good, it could be bad. I don't know.
I mean, he doesn't have much political capital anymore, so it's interesting to kind of watch him kind of.
It depends on what happens with the rest of them, which will determine how good or bad he's gonna be.
Yeah.
If he gets elected.
And the thing of it is he likes to be liked. So, if he thinks it will give him favor with people in the council, he'll vote with them just to show, just to get their favor. So he's the pawn that can be played.
That's what I'm saying. It could be good. It could be bad. It really just depends on who else gets elected.
Yeah. Yeah. So
there's so many,
it's going to be interesting.
There's so many moving parts to this thing. It's just crazy. I really and truly hope, before we continue with the other two, really and truly encourage people to not vote as a slate.
Yeah.
Look at these candidates individually. Don't see the signs that say, Grau, Perlman, Sipple, and go check. Really and truly look at each one of these candidates, because you might like Grau. I mean, I would say go for Richie, but you might like Grau, but you might not like Perlman. So they don't have to be. They don't come as one. That you're not voting for a block. You get to choose who you vote for. So don't let Perlman push you into voting for all the other people, like he pushed Grau into running in seat A. Don't do that. Let's not do that. Let's use our kitties. Okay, so Larry Sellin was also on the Planning and Zoning Commission with Kristen Ritchie. And I don't really know much about him. I just know he was on there.
I don't know either. And
he's a long-term Boca resident.
Yeah, so you could tell he was really invested in the city, and he had a lot of knowledge of what was going on. I think that he would be independent. I think that he would kind of judge things as they happen. I don't think he comes in. It didn't seem like he came in with any agenda or anything of that nature. That's a good
point. That's how I would describe it. I would agree with that description.
So he can't, just because I'm not a big fan of Bob Weinroth, I never have been, probably never will be. But I'm just a little bitter. I don't, and nothing so much against Bob. It's just the fact of what led us to this point is that
it's what we know about him.
Yeah,
we just don't trust him to.
He carries a lot of history, and like I said, he would be that swing vote instead of being an independent vote, an
independent thinker.
Yeah, I think Larry would just kind of be a little bit more of an independent thinker. And then as far as Stacey's Sipple goes, is that she was insignificant. I don't remember much about her during the forum, and I don't remember much of what she said. So she went
with that same vein of every answer had to do with the downtown development.
Yeah.
She didn't really have a lot.
She was a one-trick pony, I guess.
And that again goes with the same thing with a lot of these Save Boca candidates, is that they don't actually understand anything happening in the city. And it's not to minimize their passion for what they're doing. It's hard to put your name out there. It's hard to run a campaign. I'm not minimizing that at all. That That being said, again, being one trick pony means that we're not going to get a good representative on our council to do things that are beyond that one spot.
Right.
Because, and here's the other thing too, they got what they wanted.
Yeah.
Like, it's going to a vote. So let's say the people vote yes for it, and somehow 2 or 3 of these guys get in.
What are they going to do?
What are they going to do?
Yeah.
Like, how does so I don't really understand what their campaign platforms are, because their campaign platforms are to save Boca, but they couldn't even articulate. And one of them, I can't remember who it was, and I'll have to ask. We have to go back and look at the tape, game tape. But one of them was asked specifically, "What does save Boca mean?" Mm-hmm. And they couldn't even really articulate it other than the downtown, stopping developers.
Good luck.
So nobody came with a plan. That was the other thing too. I always want to know if someone's got a plan for stuff. So people came with plan. Kristen came in with plan stuff, saying this is what we need to be looking at. This is how we need to be doing things. Mark talked a lot about the 425, the ordinance, the plan for the ordinance. Weinroth talked about the plan for the ordinance and what his thoughts were. So those are the 3 that kind of talked about plans for things instead of just bringing up problems for things, which again, they only had a minute. So I understand it's not a lot of time to go into that, but like, you still want to communicate that you do have a plan, or you have thought about it, or you have something, and it's not just like, here's an issue we need to figure out.
Yeah.
So
I didn't
those are my thoughts.
I felt that the candidates that we prefer had a little bit more substance, and they were able, you could see that they had a vision for the city of Boca, where everybody else was just kind of going through the motions.
They're just like, no.
Yeah.
Okay, no, but then what?
Yeah, there was no substance.
There was no and then what?
The budget really wasn't talked about.
Fran talked about the budget, and Mark talked about the budget. They talked about, who was it? Someone talked about cutting. They cut from the budget. I think it was Fran.
It was Fran that
talked about cutting the budget, how the budget was cut, how they were able to do that, and how they were able to, one other thing she said about the budget. I can't remember. But yeah, that they were able to cut a certain amount of money from the budget.
But these Save Boca people didn't talk anything about like the budget or any of the...
No, one person talked, sorry, I don't mean to keep cutting you off now. Things are kind of popping in my head. One person talked about how... one of the Save Boca people said something along the lines of, if we want the downtown, we'll pay for it. Something like that. And I was like, so you want to raise taxes?
Yeah.
Like, what are we, what's happening there? Oh, that was another thing Perlman talked a lot about was the police station.
Oh, that's right. And it's been public safety on how like moving the station.
Because the question he was asked was, what do you think, he was asked about the schools in the district and safety for the school kids in the district, as far as like walking to school, like that kind of stuff. Like, are they the process for them to get to school? His response was to trash Blue Lake and talk about the station being moved out of the city, which I'm not actually, I am on the fence about. But
actually, Weinroth actually had a really good answer.
He did respond to that.
He responded to it because he said, well, actually, he goes, having the station moved to Spanish River isn't that big of a deal because of the fact you want the police officers patrolling and out in their vehicles or out in the streets. They're not hanging out at the station.
Yeah, it was a really good point.
It was a great answer.
I was like, huh. Interesting. So
it doesn't matter where the substation is.
He was like, doesn't matter where the station is. You want them out patrolling. They're not sitting and hanging out at the station. And Perlman was not happy with that answer. His face was not happy when he said that. But again, the question was asked about schools and safety, and he brought it back to the downtown.
Yep.
And I don't remember why I brought that up, but it had to do with budgets. Oh, raising taxes, because someone did. I'll have to see if Brian remembers, but someone said, if we want a downtown, we'll pay for it. Something like that. And I was just like, does anybody... So what? Which someone did, and I can't remember who it was. I mean, I should have written more of these. Like, I should have had a scorecard.
Yeah.
I was running a little late when I got there. It was a little chaotic. I had one of my kids with me. It was a whole thing. So I was just doing good just to be there.
Yeah.
But I should have written, like, this. Yeah. But because someone else said, they were like, said the city did not plan well, which is something we've talked about, how the city has not planned. One of the reasons that we're having to look for a P3 for the downtown is because the city did not plan to have the downtown, which one might argue they did on purpose. I've heard that argument that they kind of just were like, oop, well, if it gets bad enough, I guess we'll have to replace it with what we want.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't speak to that.
That's a good point.
I can't speak to that. But either way, they weren't wrong. And I don't remember who said it. They weren't wrong in that. I think it might have been Perlman who said it. But like I said, he was right on some things he said, but it was very, again, one trick pony about one specific thing.
Yeah. So this forum was online. You can actually go to YouTube and go under the Federation of Boca Raton Homeowners Association. And it's the only video there. And you can watch it. And actually, it's got almost 2,000 views.
Really? I might send it out to people.
So I did share it on our when it was live. I'm sure that link still works. I'll make sure. And if it doesn't, I'll make sure that we're posting those links again. But if you want to watch, I think it was like, 2 hours almost?
It was 2 hours because they did
2 hours and 20 minutes.
Yeah,
basically.
they did like an hour and a few minutes for the city council candidates, and then they did like 45 minutes for the mayoral candidate.
Yeah. So if you are in the city of Boca Raton or you know somebody that lives in the city of Boca Raton, highly suggest watching the forum and making your own decision regarding the candidates. And call them if you have questions or you have concerns, or share this out, or put little snippets of this and send it and go, what do you have questions about? If you have the same questions that we do, by all means. The city council candidates love to share our videos and talk about us. So
they do.
In the past, they have.
They have.
Yeah. Andy Thompson loved to quote and say stuff about us
that's right. He quoted us. That's right.
All the time.
Listen, we're not giving you any cannon fodder this time, man. Andy. I don't know. Maybe we will. We'll see.
So
I'm sure we are all right now. Here's your cannon fodder.
So be sure. So, that's a way. Watch the forum for yourself if you want just this highlighted view, and respect our professional opinions or lack of professional opinions.
I don't think we should claim our opinions as professional opinions. I feel like that's a lofty claim.
We're political junkies. That's basically all we are. So take that how you choose, but we do pay attention.
And I want to say too, obviously you cannot know everything about a candidate.
No.
Like when you vote for someone, it's a gamble. You don't
really
know
is,
if they're going to actually do the things that they say they're going to do.
Well, and then that's our responsibility to make sure that they do.
Right.
Is to remember these things. And then when they get into office is to be able to say,
hey,
well,
you said
when you were running and you said this, what happened with that? Or why, and a good candidate would be like, well, now that I have all of the information, this is what I've determined based on this. Or yes, that's something I'm working on with staff, or, whatever the scenario may be. They should be very open. If they if they don't return your calls, if they, blow you off, that kind of tells you that you need to educate yourself a little bit better next time before voting for them.
Mm-hmm.
So
hold their feet to the fire. That's our job.
Exactly.
Politicians respond to two things: money and the threat of losing their job, or the threat of not getting their job. So
Correct.
That's what our job is. Our job is to vet them. Our job is to make sure that they have knowledge. And I don't think every candidate needs to know everything about everything. So let me just preface this by saying,
for sure.
But when you fold like a cheap deck chair where you're asked about school safety,
and then say, oh, we shouldn't have gotten that A-rated school.
Yeah, that is not a good sign.
That helped increase, your property values and all of that.
Not a good sign at all.
Not a good sign.
So, just take that. And when someone talks about, like I said, when someone says it's a commission and not a council, they don't know what job they're running for, or think that they have a veto pen.
Right.
Or executive pen and can make executive decisions on day one. Those are red flags. Right. Let's just put it that way.
Exactly. So I want to talk about Delray really quick, and then we'll wrap it up tonight, because there was a candidate forum for the city of Delray Beach. There you have Commissioner Angela Burns' seat 4 is up, but she's run unopposed, so she doesn't have anybody running against her. So the seat in question that's up for election in Delray Beach is seat 2. Now that was Rob Long's seat that he vacated and won State House 90 for, and so this is to complete. To put somebody in that seat. So who's running is Judy Malika and Frances Dolores Ringel. Everybody calls her Dolores. They just call her Dolores instead of Frances, just so you know. And then you have Andrea Kaiser that's running for that seat. Now, this, if you really want to know what's going on in our deep blue wall, watch this forum. Because it will tell you everything that you need to know. 90% of the questions were about ICE and protecting our immigrants and illegals.
Our illegal immigrants.
And I found it so interesting. So Judy Malika is the Democrat that's running, and she hit all of those push button hot topics. You know, I cried when I saw the video in Minneapolis, and I was so just taken back by, you know, what has happened and this, you know, like
what our country's become.
Exactly.
That
you know,
trope.
You know, complaining about the administration and, you know, all of that kind
of stuff.
If
I get elected to the city commission, which is a commission in Delray Beach, I will stop Trump.
Right. Did you watch it?
No, but I can only guess because I've sat through those in Boynton.
And so I don't know much about Judy's qualifications. For the most part, she came off as kind of like mean girlish. I don't know how else to say it.
Valley girl.
So I mean, but more like
I didn't watch it, so I'm just guessing.
So like. It's hard to articulate. You have to watch her to be able to understand what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Because she was very forceful in some of her answers. She was very, you know, like they couldn't decide between the three of them, like whose turn it was to talk.
There was no moderator?
There was, but it was like they couldn't remember what number they were, and you know, like, so it was really frustrating to kind of watch that part, you know. And then you had Dolores, who apparently had worked for the city at some capacity for like 27 years, and she sounded completely incompetent. She sounded like she did not know anything about the city. She didn't know how it was ran.
What did she do for the city?
I could have swore that she worked in the administration part. Like, she wasn't a city manager, but like in the city manager's department.
That explains so much about Delray.
And so it's like, I'm very curious of who's behind her campaign. So if anybody knows, please let me know, because I mean, the level of incompetence that was coming from this woman was atrocious. And the fact is it's like, and then she's saying like the same thing, like I cried and, you know, this shouldn't happen here. And we need to protect people. And then you have the saving grace and glory of Andrea Kaiser, who comes and like, she couldn't help but look at these people like, are you serious? Like, did you just say that? And at the same time, staying professional and calm. And she was like, and so the immigrant question and the thing about ICE is Andrea goes, some of the smartest minds in our country are debating this at this particular moment in time, and they don't have a solution. So we're going to pray about it. And we're going to figure out what we can do as a city and make it very clear what we can do and what we can't. And she was so articulate. She was so polished. If she loses this race, it's just because of, you know, incompetence on her team or something. I don't know how else to say it. She came off as the smartest. She was the smartest person in the room that night. I'm not kidding. When you look at the questions that were asked, and she was able to articulate in such a way that was not political, that was not pushing into the hot button topics. She was not diving into the emotions. She was like, well, as a city commissioner, I wouldn't be able to do that.
So she knew her job that she was interviewing for.
She knew. And
she gets the We the People, We the Local. I was We the Peoples. I'm so tired. She gets the We the Locals award.
Yeah, like she was just dialed in to the local issues, and she was very clear, and she was, education is her strong point, K through 5 years old is kind of, or pre-K through 5 is like her niche. She comes, she's got a lot of experience. She's a land attorney, and then she also does a lot of things. She's on a couple boards for education, and so she came locked and loaded with the details that were going on in the city, what needs to be done, what needs to be looked at, and what she's actually able and capable to do.
Where was this forum and who was it run by?
So this was
so many questions.
So this was, go ahead.
I was going to say, because while you're looking, because that also goes to show it's very important who's running the forum, because I'm like, none of those questions. We got every single thing that was asked about in the city at our forum in Boca was very specific to the city of Boca. And it was asked, and it was, these are things. And so obviously, because it was run by people who are focusing on the issues of the city of Boca. So I'm very curious to see who allowed this type of forum when it has nothing to do. Like this is really who they are, whoever it is doing a very big disservice to the voters. Because it's not allowing the voters to actually see what people are capable of in the job, for the job that they are auditioning or applying for. Yeah. So it's a disservice to the voters. If someone thinks that they're electing a city commissioner or a city council member to stop ICE in a small town like Boynton or a small town like Boca, I mean, compared to these big cities, Minneapolis, New York, whatever, you're doing a strong disservice for them to the voter, because that's not what they're going to be able to do. The city council doesn't have that kind of power here in our cities.
Right.
The county commissioners don't have that kind of power here in our city commissions, and they might be fully incompetent at the actual job description. And you wouldn't know that because you were never given the opportunity to actually hear them speak about things that are related to the city.
Yeah. So this was, the forum was located at St. Paul AME Church. And I'm pretty sure that it was the Set that put it on.
That's why.
Yes.
That explains it.
The host committee was the Set, the United Believers of Delray Beach, Delray Beach Alliance Voters League, Volunteer Association Fund of Florida, Unify, the Elders Table, and
these are all very large,
the Millennial Table,
minority Democrat organizations that pose and cover themselves as non-Democrat organizations or as non-partisan organizations, right? Which is bull crap.
Right.
Bull crap.
This is Heart in the Blue Wall. So when we talk the Blue Wall, we're talking about anything east of 95 that is like Delray Beach, and then north until you get into basically Lantana. That's kind of like they have their little subsidies. You have the Set. There's different little communities within the community, but they very favor the hot button Democrat issues. These are your,
they're the ones who do all the big parades to get out everyone to the polls and
they do like Souls to the Polls.
Yeah, that's what it's called, Souls to the Polls. Yeah, the buses and the whole shebang. And I one time had the pleasure of sitting through one of those, and I was like, where am I? What is this? I feel like I had to hide everything that I was thinking in my mind, like hardcore, because I was like, these people are gonna lynch me. They're gonna string me up if they know what I'm thinking right now about who I voted for or about any of the things that I think. And it's crazy. And they hide behind a facade of religion, which makes me want to spit nails.
Yeah.
As someone who was raised in a very faith-based religious world, it is incredibly frustrating the way that they take scripture and twist it, the way that they hide behind these things. Oh, we're a faith-based organization. We're not a political organization. Mm-hmm. Okay. Sure. And pigs are flying. and snowballs are melting in hell. Oh, no, wait, it's snowing outside in Florida. Oh, crap.
and these people have the political capital that they do because they are able to get their people out to vote. Now, it's a small percentage of the voting block in Delray, if you really think about it. It's very small because
But they are active voters.
Correct.
They're super voters.
So they're super voters, which means they vote in every election and they're always going to show up. So, where your average person might be like, yeah, I'm not going to vote this year. I don't really care.
Don't care. I don't know anything about city council. I'm not voting.
I don't know who the candidates are, so I'm not going to vote. And so that's the thing. And it's not, I want to be very clear. The forum was very unbiased. It wasn't like they were, booing anybody. Like, it was very professionally done. The questions were a little off kilter a little bit, in my view. Like, they weren't really zeroed into city issues, more of the social economic issues based on minority communities and things of that nature.
If they're talking about ICE, that's
all you got to know.
That's all you got to know.
That's all you got to know. And like I said, kudos to Andrea for, sticking through that and being articulate and really showing, compassion and love for the city, because she really was like, embracing everyone and in a good way, like these are things we can talk about. These are things that, are a problem, like if you want things done in your community, let's talk about it and see what we can do as a city to make sure that, everybody is safe and everybody is protected and that everybody has a good education and that, good jobs are coming into Delray. And so she was very well-rounded. She was very fact-based. I'm telling you, she is just a homegirl, Delray Beach person that just wants the best for her city, and she came off that way.
That's what we want. That's what we had also in some of our Boca candidates. Yeah. That's what you want. You want someone who loves their city and wants the best for their city and is not grandstanding.
And so like I said, I don't know where this Dolores, who encouraged her to run or whatever, or she thought she should. It was the wrong decision.
I want to go watch it now.
I'm telling you, watch it because I think I shared the information of when it was on a couple episodes ago. And I think it's on their Facebook page or something. So you can, I think it's Delray Matters. They have a website. Yeah. So it was posted on Delray Matters, has a page or a Facebook group or whatever. And then it was hosted by St. Paul's AME Church of Delray. So it is still on their Facebook page. So you can take a look at that forum and make your own decision as far as that goes. So that I think I have a couple candidate forums here coming up within the next week as far as like Wellington and Palm Beach Gardens and I think Juneau that I may be watching or paying attention to. So these are the two that we were able to watch and be able to give you an account of what we thought that the candidates brought to the table or didn't bring to the table, depending on the situation. And, we might be a little biased here, but that's also because we've done this work. We've talked to these candidates. We see how they operate. And we have a really good understanding of how these cities work. Like I've said before, Boynton doesn't have an election this year. Well, they did, but it ran unopposed for Woodward Hayes. So there won't be anything going on in Boynton. But there's a lot of other city municipalities that have some pretty great candidates that are looking to do what's best for their city.
Yeah. So just a note, I'm pretty sure the vote by mail ballots start dropping in a week or two.
Next week?
Next week.
No. Within this week and next week, I think they drop.
So be sure to be talking to your friends. We'd appreciate you sharing this episode. If you have someone in Boca or Delray that you're like, I'm not sure who to vote for. What do I do? And they ask you, you give them your, the answer, what you think. But we, clip this, share it. The snippet that relates to you in your district or you in your municipality. And let's get the word out of what people, what observations are, and if you have different observations, let me know.
And we said this 100 times on the show. All politics are local.
Yeah.
And
that's
what
why
happens,
we're We the Locals, and we don't talk about national
that's
stuff
right.
too much.
Because actually what happens in the White House starts here on your local ground. That's just the way that it works. And, Trump happens to live here. So all eyes are really on our county and our municipality and what's going on here and how we're reacting as a community to what's happening, all over the country. And, we have some really great candidates that really want to do what's best for their city, and they're educated and they're knowledgeable and they have emotions, but they don't run high on emotions.
They're not being driven by them.
Exactly. And I hope that everybody has an opportunity to educate themselves on the candidates. And, feel free to email us if you have questions or concerns, anything that you, want to set us straight on or want to know how to get more information, email us and we will be happy to point you in the right direction. If you heard about candidates tonight and you actually want to go out and help them, email us. We can get you in contact
or you want to
with
meet them. If you want to meet them, we can put you in contact with pretty much all the candidates if you are not able to reach them directly, but we can help you help facilitate that. So definitely let us know. Yeah, if you want to go out and volunteer. I know a lot of them are door knocking over the weekends. So
they're
all seeking donations, yard signs in your yards, all that fun stuff.
Yep. So there's lots of ways you can support a candidate if you choose to. So if you like somebody or want some more information, feel free to email us. You can check us out on Instagram, X, and Facebook. We're either We the Locals or We the Locals FL on all of our pages. Our website is WeTheLocalsPodcast.com. You can donate to us there. The links to our channels are there. So you can just click a link and it goes right into our channels and you can watch all of our previous episodes. Like I said, if you want to email us, you can email us at WeTheLocalsFL@gmail.com. We'll be happy to take all of your requests. Also, if you go to our website, you can subscribe and you can get all of the show links sent to you directly once they post. So that's an easy way to stay on top of everything as well. And like I said, and our podcast as well, our website, you can actually see how to sponsor and donate as well. So great information on our website. Follow our socials. We're posting things all the time. There should be links to both. If I didn't do the Delray one, I will. I'll take a look. I don't think I did repost the live stream, but I'll make sure that we do that tonight. Or by the time that this posts, I should say, by the time this drops. So we're here to give you all of the local information as much as we can. So thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you again in a couple weeks. Have a great night, everybody, and be sure to stay local.
Bye.
Bye.